Vampires have haunted human imagination for centuries, but none are as hauntingly unique as Count Orlok, a creature of shadow, plague, and primal terror. Nosferatu isn't just another vampire, he's the blueprint for horror as we know it. What makes him so unsettling? Why does his image endure across decades of cinema? From his grotesque appearance to his apocalyptic presence, we're about to uncover the chilling anatomy of Nosferatu, his powers, why he stands apart from the suave seduction of Dracula. Is he more powerful than Dracula? Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. This is the tale of terror that shaped vampire mythology forever. In this video, we will explore the anatomical and symbolic elements of Count Orlok, also known as Nosferatu. Backstory of Nosferatu. Count Orlok, the central character of the 1922 silent horror film Nosferatu, is a fictional vampire based loosely on Bram Stoker's Dracula. Orlok's character is known for his eerie appearance, bald with elongated fingers, pointed ears, and sharp teeth, and his terrifying role as a bringer of death and disease. Let's break down his identity and why he's associated with the name Nosferatu. Orlok resides in a gloomy, isolated castle in Transylvania, evoking dread and mystery. He is a reclusive figure feared by locals for his supernatural abilities and ominous presence. The Bird of Death. This nickname symbolizes his association with death and decay. In the film, Orlok spreads plagues and kills indiscriminately, much like the spread of disease by rats, which accompany him in the movie. While the 1922 film does not delve deeply into Orlok's backstory, some interpretations suggest he was a black magician before becoming a vampire. This transformation is attributed to demonic intervention, specifically by Belial, a figure associated with satanic lore. The term may derive from the Romanian word nezuferit, meaning insufferable or offensive, reflecting the fear and disgust associated with vampires. In popular culture, Nosferatu has become synonymous with vampires, thanks to the film's influence. Nosferatu refers to his vampiric nature rather than being a personal name. Count Orlok himself is the individual, while Nosferatu represents the type of creature he embodies.
Come to me.
Is Nosferatu more powerful than Dracula? Count Orlok and Count Dracula are connected because Orlok is essentially a reimagined version of Dracula, created for the silent horror film Nosferatu, 1922, which was an unauthorized adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1897. F.W. Murnau, the director of Nosferatu, and Prana Film, the production company, sought to adapt Stoker's story, but did not acquire the legal rights to do so. To circumvent this, they made changes to the characters, setting, and some plot elements. For instance, Count Dracula became Count Orlok. Jonathan Harker was renamed Thomas Hutter, and the setting was moved from England to Germany. Despite these changes, the film closely followed the narrative structure of Dracula, leading to copyright infringement lawsuits from Stoker's widow. Count Orlok's grotesque appearance and monstrous demeanor are a stark departure from the suave, aristocratic portrayal of Dracula in Stoker's novel. However, Orlok retains key traits of Dracula, such as being a bloodthirsty vampire, living in a remote castle, and being a danger to those he encounters. This connection highlights how Nosferatu borrowed from Dracula while leaving a unique imprint on vampire mythology. While Count Orlok, Nosferatu, and Count Dracula share many traits as undead vampires, Dracula is generally considered the more powerful of the two, due to his broader range of supernatural abilities and fewer immediate vulnerabilities. Dracula's powers include shapeshifting into bats, wolves, and mist, commanding animals, weather control, and an almost hypnotic charm that allows him to manipulate his victims. These abilities make him a versatile and cunning adversary, capable of adapting to various situations. Additionally, while Dracula is weakened by sunlight, it is not fatal to him, and he retains some of his strength even during the day. Count Orlok, on the other hand, lacks Dracula's versatility. His grotesque appearance and eerie connection to plague and death make him a terrifying figure, but his powers are more limited. Orlok does not possess Dracula's shape-shifting abilities or seductive charisma, and his vulnerability to sunlight is absolute. Exposure results in his immediate destruction. In summary, while Orlok's association with death and disease adds a unique layer to his menace, Dracula's diverse powers and adaptability make him the stronger and more formidable vampire overall. Bald head and skull-like features. Count Orlok's bald head is one of his most immediately recognizable features. It creates a skeletal appearance, emphasizing death and decay. The smooth, hairless scalp eliminates any trace of humanity, making his visage alien and otherworldly. This design choice underscores his status as a creature of the undead, devoid of the warmth and vitality associated with living beings. The shape of his skull is exaggeratedly elongated and angular, further distancing him from human norms and adding an insect-like quality to his silhouette. Gaunt face and sunken eyes. Orlok's gaunt face is marked by pronounced cheekbones and deep hollows beneath his eyes. This emaciated appearance evokes the image of famine and pestilence, linking the vampire to historical fears of plague and death. His sunken eyes, shadowed and lifeless, seem to pierce through his victims, symbolizing his predatory nature. These eyes convey an unrelenting hunger, as if they are windows into a soul consumed by its need to feed on others. Pointed nose and rodent-like features. The long pointed nose is a key element in Orlok's design. This feature, combined with his thin lips and sharp teeth, gives him a rodent-like appearance. This resemblance to a rat is deliberate, as rats were carriers of the bubonic plague, a historical event deeply ingrained in the collective memory of the film's early 20th century audience. By visually associating Orlok with rats, the filmmakers reinforce his connection to disease and death. It's worth noting that this design choice distances him from the aristocratic elegance of other cinematic vampires, such as Count Dracula. Sharp, rat-like teeth. Unlike the traditional fangs associated with vampires, Count Orlok's teeth are more akin to those of a rodent. They protrude prominently from his mouth, visible even when his lips are closed. These teeth are a stark reminder of his role as a predator, emphasizing his need to bite and drain the life force from his victims. Their placement and size are unnervingly unnatural, making them a focal point of his monstrous appearance. Elongated fingers and clawed hands. One of the most iconic features of Count Orlok is his long, spindly fingers, which end in claw-like nails. These hands are both skeletal and insect-like, reinforcing the idea that Orlok is a creature of decay and predation. The exaggerated length of his fingers suggests a preternatural ability to grasp and hold onto his victims, while the sharp claws evoke images of birds of prey or predatory mammals. The movement of these fingers in the film is often slow and deliberate, heightening their menacing nature. Tall, slender. Frame Orlok's tall and gaunt physique adds to his menacing presence. His thin frame creates an unnatural silhouette that stands out starkly against the settings of the film. This elongated body suggests a creature that is stretched beyond human limits, a visual metaphor for his existence as something unnatural and otherworldly. The way he moves, slowly and deliberately, emphasizes his predatory patience and adds to the uncanny effect of his appearance. Hunched posture. Orlok's hunched posture is another element that contributes to his unsettling anatomy. This stance makes him appear as though he is perpetually skulking or stalking, reinforcing his predatory nature. The hunched position also evokes the image of a scavenger or a creature that thrives in darkness and decay. This posture, combined with his slow movements, creates an aura of inevitability, a predator who will take his time but is certain to capture his prey. Ears and animalistic features. Orlok's ears are pointed and slightly oversized, reminiscent of bats or other nocturnal creatures. This feature ties him directly to the folklore surrounding vampires, who were often believed to transform into bats. The exaggerated ears, along with his other animalistic features, serve to blur the line between human and beast, highlighting his status as a liminal figure who exists between the living and the dead. Skin tone and texture. The pale, almost translucent quality of Orlok's skin is another key element of his anatomy. This pallor is a hallmark of the undead, symbolizing a lack of blood and life. The texture of his skin appears smooth, yet unnervingly taut, as though stretched too tightly over his skull and bones. This contributes to the impression that he is a corpse reanimated, a being whose body defies natural processes. Shadow and silhouette. While not a physical trait, Orlock's shadow is an integral part of his anatomical presence. The film frequently uses his shadow to emphasize his elongated, unnatural features. The interplay of light and shadow distorts his form further, creating an almost spectral quality. His shadow operates as an extension of his body, acting independently at times and reinforcing his supernatural nature. This use of shadow is particularly effective in scenes where Orlock's silhouette climbs stairs or stretches across walls, emphasizing his grotesque anatomy, even when he is not directly visible. Symbolism of anatomy. Each aspect of Count Orlok's anatomy serves a symbolic purpose. His skeletal features evoke death and decay, reminding the viewer of mortality and the inevitability of death. His rat-like traits link him to disease and pestilence, reinforcing his role as a bringer of doom. The exaggerated length of his fingers and the hunched posture suggest a creature perfectly adapted for stalking and capturing prey. Together, these elements create a figure that embodies primal fears of predation, disease, and death. Our nerdy thoughts. Count Orlok's anatomy is a masterful blend of the grotesque and the symbolic. Every aspect of his design, from his elongated fingers to his skeletal face, works together to create a figure that is both terrifying and deeply meaningful. By rejecting traditional notions of vampire elegance and embracing a more monstrous aesthetic, Nosferatu established a visual template that continues to resonate in the horror genre. Count Orlok is not just a vampire, he is a walking embodiment of death, disease, and the fears that lurk in the human subconscious. Thank you for exploring the anatomy of Count Orlok with us. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next deep dive into cinematic history.
Nosferatu.
Now what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.